quick look here. Here's what they finished with last year. The Chiefs running away 15-2, the Chargers 11-6, the Broncos 10-7, and the Raiders 4-13. You can see a weird season for the Chiefs as they had a great win percentage, but not a whole lot of point differential. The Chargers and the Broncos, surprisingly good point differentials, and the Raiders, not so high as we see some of their records. So, Kelsey, go ahead and lead the way from bottom to the top. How do you have this division shaking out?
Yeah, bottom of the top. It actually doesn't look much different to how they finished last year. There is a little shakeup, but not a crazy shakeup. Bottom is the Raiders. However, they did do improve on last year with the addition of Ashton Jeanty. 5-12 instead of 4-13. They'll go 5-12 is my prediction there. It's still gonna be a rough go of it for the Raiders. They've done a lot of positive, but there's still some holes there that need to be filled. Unless they just come out and outperform everything, I don't know if the Raiders are there yet. Obviously, the addition of Geno seems to be good, but what does that really mean for the team where you lack a true number one receiver? Not that you lack a true number one tight end, but you do lack a true number one receiver. Despite all the positives I talk about Jacoby Myers, when it comes to fantasy football, they don't really have a number one as far as the NFL considers a number one receiver. I think Jacoby can be a perfect number one. TJ Hushmanzada has a lot of things similar. So the talent wise between the two of them, TJ was a little bit taller, but that's kind of how I look at Jacoby Myers, which is not really what everybody thinks of as a number one. But obviously, there's young players there. There's a lot of talent. But yeah, the Raiders just not good enough for me to get more than 5 wins this year. They also have the AFC West seems to have a tougher interconference matchup as well.
Interesting. The Raiders, of course, going 0-6 in the division last year, so it's only up from here at this point. You
Yeah,
can only
I
hopefully
did.
bounce back.
I did give them 1 win in the division. That's
All
where
right.
the difference comes. So
You know what? They're on the upswing, but all right, how do we have it going next? Now we have the Raiders in the cellar. So do we keep things
yeah.
homeostasis or are we shaking it up?
No, we're shaking it up this time.
Mm.
We're going Chargers at number 3. Only by divisional record are they number 3 because they end up at 10-7.
Ooh, okay.
So still a good year for the Chargers, just not good enough in division. I think this division, inside of its own division, is tough. You obviously have the Chiefs to deal with. You have a young Bo Nix to deal with. Justin Herbert's a tough team to deal with, especially the run game for the Chargers looks to be pretty dangerous. And the Raiders are no slouch. I gave them a win in the division. That means they're no slouch type of thing. But yeah, the Chargers, we still have questions about the receiving core outside of Lad McConkey. What else is there? And that's always the question. How bad is the Najee Harris thing? So we'll have to wait and see. But for me, 10-7 feels pretty safe for the Chargers. Justin Herbert, edge of playoffs, maybe in the playoffs with a 10-7 record. We'll see that later on. But yeah, that's where I have the Chargers at.
All right, moving up along now. We got Raiders, Chargers. So I have a hunch of who's next based on historic events, but I'll let you go ahead and continue.
Yeah, obviously it's the Chiefs at number 1. So the Broncos are at number 2, 10-7. Again, they have the breaker when it comes to divisional record, 4-2 in the division versus the Chargers 2-4. But yeah, I have the Broncos playing really well. Bo Nix is going to play really well. Obviously, they have an overseas game this year. I actually had them winning the overseas game, which is kind of a nice thing. And also, they have a few mini bye weeks throughout the season where they play on a Thursday or play on a Saturday later in the season, and they have a late game the next week. So those obviously always are a big moment for young up and developing players, especially with a coach like Sean Payton. So I gave them a lot of nod there. Plus, their defense still looks fantastic, and that team continues to get better and better. I have them at 10-7, but I honestly feel like there's a possibility this could be higher. When I first did this, I actually had them winning the division, and I took that back because I was like, well, hold on, let's not do this yet. I don't know if they're there yet. But that leads me to number 1. No surprise, the Chiefs. However, I don't have the Chiefs doing as well as they've done in the past few years. I have them only finishing at 12-5, 5-1 in the division, but 12-5 overall. They do have some rough games here. They have again, you go to the Super Bowl, and if you win it or lose it, it doesn't really matter. You still went to the Super Bowl. That means you're going to get a tough schedule when you come in the next year. The Chiefs have that. There's no doubt about that. And that, for me, automatically gives a little bit of a concern, and especially when you consider how well they played and how poor they played at times last season. That's where I think the Chiefs kind of fall off in some ways. So for me, the Chiefs finish at 12-5, top of the division, but second behind them, the Broncos 10-7 with more opportunity. And then Chargers at 3, Raiders at 4.
The Chiefs are very interesting because on the one hand, it's like the chickens should come home to roost. They looked terrible last year, but we look at the record, they were 15-2 with one of those
Yeah,
losses
yeah.
coming with Carson Wentz at the helm in week 18 and all the starters on the bench. So it's like there's looks and then there's results. You got to try and balance which one it is. They're a tough one to deal with. That's for sure.
Yeah, also you got to look at that point forward, point against differential. I mean, that's a really close differential when you look at it, especially when you take it across 17 games. 8-0 at home, but you got to think of some of those close games they barely snuck in. I
Block
think of the
field
Broncos
goals.
game. The Broncos game on the road that they managed to sneak out where it was a blocked field goal at the end of the game. That's the difference. And that blocked field goal came after a penalty on the first field goal attempt that was good. So that's something that you look at, like, can the coin continue to go in that direction again the next year? We saw it with the Vikings a few years ago. Every close game went the Vikings' way, and then the next year, nothing went their way. That's always a concern when you have a team last year like the Chiefs, that they just a lot of close wins. Sure, it means something for your mentality, but does it carry over into the next year? I am less concerned about that with the Chiefs than most teams, but still, I think a three game difference is where I'm comfortable with that being impactful.
When you've been so unbelievably good, it's almost like 12 wins is almost an insult. They've been that good. We're 12-5 for every other team in the league. It's like, that's about right, or that's darn good. But as our good friend Jason with TSS and that Sports Podcast Network says, till they're dethroned, it is the Chiefs who are going on a decade now. The last time they didn't win the division, Peyton Manning was hoisting a Lombardi trophy. So that's how long it has been. So I'll go and go through my predictions now, and we're going to go from the top to the bottom just to shake up the suspense. Yeah, I got the Chiefs winning the division as well. So we're going to get that one out of the way as well. I have them going 11-6, so a little bit of a step back. 4-2 in the division. I'm giving credit to that division. It will be an upgrade division. Everyone is a lot better, I believe. So we're going to give them 11-6, which is about what they went 2 years ago. But I think they'll look a lot better. I think the Star Wars offense is going to return a little bit. I don't think we're going to see as much of those 16-14 Patty with like 87 passing yard games. I think we're going to see the offense is going to take off a little bit. I think Xavier Worthy is going to break out some. Travis will still be Travis, reliable. 7 yards and a cloud of fur. Not a whole lot of not taking off from anybody. Rashee Rice will come back eventually. He'll be great. Marquise Hollywood Brown hopefully won't have his chest caved in the first play of preseason and we'll get to play this year. Isaiah Pacheco's leg won't be snapped. I just think they're going to offensively, they're going to bounce back and they'll be fine. But I have them 11-6. So we'll go now from the bottom to the top. I just wanted to get the easy one out of the way for fun. But at the bottom of the division,
for the sake of it, by the way, I just want
to beat the man. You beat the man. Woo! I don't have my voice will crack if I do any better of a woo, so I'm gonna have to cut it. I'm gonna have to cut my woo there. I don't have the Ric Flair gene, unfortunately. But we'll start at the bottom of the division. I actually have Denver going 8-9 at the bottom of the division.
Wow.
Very, very good team. It's a very, very good division. I think we talk about this with sophomore quarterbacks all the time. They tend to take a little bit of a step back off if they have a really good rookie season. I think the playbook is going to start to open up a little bit more. I think Sean Payton's going to start throwing more at him. I think Bo's basically this will be his adjustment season. Then the following season, we'll start to see this will be the Auburn side of the Bo Nix experience, is what I think we'll see this year. A little bit more of the chaos. The running back situation, I think, is going to sort itself out. Receivers outside of Cortland Sutton, I think, will sort themselves out. They're still a young team. They're still balancing some things. The offensive line is still going to be awesome. Defensively, I think they're still going to be very, very good. I think some of the things they did last year won't fully repeat down that stretch. I think they snuck up on a lot of people last year, especially down the stretch. They had a lot of matchups where it's like, oh, maybe before the season we thought it was close, but as the season played on, it's like, okay, yeah, they should beat the brakes off that team. They should beat the brakes off that team, so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be very competitive. I think they're just going to struggle in division, honestly. I have them going 1-5 in the division. Last year they were 3-3. 2 of those wins were the hapless Raiders, and then one was that Week 18 where the Chiefs had Carson Wentz at quarterback. So I think the way the division shakes out, just a little tougher for Denver, but still. 8-9, I'm not going to spoil things too much yet, but that could possibly win you another division. Unfortunately, it won't be this one. But
I wasn't going to say anything, but you remember I did ask you to pick which one of these two conferences we were going to start with, and I said the least competitive, and you said 8-9 as the fourth place team in this division. So
I don't think you used the word competitive. I'm sure you used a different adjective.
I think I said the least competitive of the two conferences. And
we're gonna have to rewind the tapes. I don't think you said competitive. I think you used a different adjective there. But
okay, all right.
No,
I'm intrigued though. I mean, 8-9 to start it out at the bottom. That's crazy.
I think it was more of the least surprising because we already knew who's going to be at the top. I think that's what we were aiming for. What we did the AFC West first, but sure, 8-9 at the bottom, which means number 3 on the list is going to be. I'm gonna have the Raiders going 10-7. When I look at the Raiders, they were terrible last year. That was pretty obvious. There's no surprise there. They had the largest upgraded quarterback in the NFL, besides maybe the Titans. We'll have to see if Cam Ward's better than Will Levis, but I feel pretty safe about that at this point. So I think with Geno Smith, you get an arguable top 12 quarterback when he's not getting assaulted behind Seattle's offensive line. Ashton Jeanty, we all are pretty comfortable saying he's going to be at minimum good in the NFL. We all feel pretty comfortable with that until proven otherwise. And they had a massive upgrade at head coach with Pete Carroll, not just in results, but experience. He's been doing this for so long. He gets the most out of everybody. Defensively, they're going to be a lot better. They had some really good additions. I like how they brought in guys like Devin White. They brought in, excuse me, Jeremy Chin, different guys like that. The offensive line is going to be a lot better. Jackson Powers Johnson's getting able to play his natural spot. And they had another really, really good draft on top of it. So I think the offseason moves, the upgraded coaching, the upgraded quarterback, they improved in the 2 most important spots by such a massive amount. I think they're gonna be able to recapture a little bit of what they did 2 years ago, where they were weirdly competitive, but now they're gonna be able to do and they're gonna get over the hump. So we got the Raiders at 10 and 7, which will lead me to number 2 in the division, the Chargers, also 10 and 7. They're gonna get 4 and 2, they're gonna get divisional tiebreaker. And I think the offense in there is going to open up a little bit more. They will run the ball. Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris, they're going to run the ball. Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, we know the drill. I think offensively, we will see them unleash Justin Herbert just a little bit more. I think we're going to see him get going a little bit more. Keenan Allen coming back just to be the safety blanket checkdown guy. We all love Lad McConkey. This is a Lad McConkey podcast, and we will not be told otherwise. I like Trey Harris. I like bringing him in out of Ole Miss. I really like that addition. Their offensive line, this is a division for offensive lines, it feels like, too. We look at
Yeah.
you have the 2 tackles, then they bring in Mekhi Beck on to play guard as well, like, they're building a wall in front of Justin, and the rest of the AFC West is gonna pay for it, so I really like what they're doing in LA, and defensively, probably won't repeat what they did last year, but I still think they'll be more than good enough because I think the offense will be a little bit more prolific, so we're gonna have the Chargers number 2 in the division, and as we mentioned, the Chiefs at the top, so to recap it, Chiefs at 11 and 6, Chargers at 10 and 7, Raiders 3rd at 10 and 7, then the Broncos pulling it up at 8 and 9 in the most competitive division in the NFL.
I like it. I like it. That was
No, you
close.
don't. You hate it. Like, you hate every second of it. I can tell.
No, you know what? I really don't. I think it's very interesting to see. Um, I have questions with the Chargers. We both picked them as a 10 and 7 team. I just
Not
look at
comfortable with it at all, though.
no. I feel like I'm just concerned. Like you mentioned, wide receivers. I thinking like Keandre Lambert Smith out of Auburn is a guy that they've already fallen in love with in camp, and so far in the Hall of Fame game scored a touchdown, and then
He's
if
going to
he
score a
makes the team,
60-yard touchdown this year if he makes the team.
yeah,
He's going to
like
get behind somebody, and Justin's going to let it fly.
and that's the crazy thing is this team has a lot of potential boom. They still have Darius Davis on the roster. Let's not forget what he did in college. The dude
And the tight
flies.
ends, too, yeah.
But it's like if this team can stay healthy, I think it's a very concerning team. And 10 and 7 maybe even feels a little low. And we can finally see Justin unlocked. But I mean, how many times have we said the words, we need a big season from Justin Herbert? Like, we need to see him take that step up. I feel like at this point, we're in season 5 of saying those words. And, we've seen him in person. We see the flashes of that brilliance when he was playing against Joe Burrow. Like, it was a fantastic game to go watch between the two young guns. But I haven't seen a lot of consistent from Justin to be a 10 and 7 team every year. And it's like, maybe they're the Steelers of the West. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's happening here. Maybe they're the team that continues to go 10 and 7 and they're continue to be bit by the Chargers bug of not making it in the playoffs. This team just confuses me every time. And so like, I get why we both picked them there. I still don't feel comfortable about it.
The injuries have been the up and down injuries and the up and down coaching. A lot of things around him have been very awkward, and he also hasn't been at his best when they need him to. That last playoff loss is the one that really kills last year, where he kind of unwound once the Texans started going. But at the same time, I feel like the team is built around his skill set right now. It's really coming together in a way that will complement him best. So I'm hoping and expecting it, if they stay healthy, the ultimate Chargers question of all teams, things will start to look good for him. So I feel pretty good about it. I'm not going to pick them to take the division over the Chiefs like we both made that mistake 3 years ago when they had that great offseason. We're like, yeah. And then suddenly everyone gets hurt. It's like, forgot it's the Chargers. Shoot. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
still the Chargers. Yeah. And you know what? I think I'm less concerned about coaching this time around with the Chargers as I was
Absolutely.
last year. Like, I felt like, coming in, Harbaugh should be a fine fit with the Chargers. We didn't really know what he was going to do. And then we saw a literal 9-man offensive line at one point in time with a single back
Beautiful.
under center. And you were like, oh, okay, hold on. This is real Harbaugh time. Like, he's cleats and khakis is coming in hard. So, mix some of that with some of the crazy passing game that they could have. If they can just stay healthy, it'll be very interesting. Also, that defense, how do you react as you lost to Bosa?
Bosa, that was unfortunately very unhealthy, but they did at
Yeah.
least keep Khalil Mack. What is interesting with Harbaugh's NFL trend is it feels like when he has the second year with a guy is when we often see them kind of explode. Year two with Alex Smith, he was leading the NFL in completion percentage, was like 19 of 20 in the game he got hurt in before Kaepernick came in. Year two of Kaepernick, he started the season out with a 420-yard game against the Packers when they brought in Anquan Bolden, and they rode right to the NFC Championship again. So I do think him and Greg Roman, I think, will open up the offense, which we'll see a little bit more of. Oh, that's the Justin Herbert from earlier in his career that's lighting up the field. But they'll be able to keep the winning and a lot of those winning aspects that we saw last year as well, the ability to control it on the ground and not put him in uncomfortable spots too often. When his freelancing ability is what I think gets us sometimes. He doesn't freelance as well as some of those other guys, but when things are
Yeah.
normal, he's elite. When things are relatively normal, he's as good as anybody. He can
He's a
still
little too.
freelance, just not as freaky as like Josh and Lamar and Patty and Joe, those
Yeah.
guys.
He reminds me of Matt Ryan in that case. Like when everything's going right, it goes right. He lights it up. When it's not going right, it's like, this is not great. But it's not bad, but it's not great.
Like he's a good improviser, but it feels like not those other guys, they become elite at improvising, which is where I
Yeah.
think things get a little bit goofy with it.
They
But
also have the
nonetheless,
different athleticism. Like, let's not forget Justin came in the league with a messed up knee twice. So that's the thing. Like, I think it makes him different from a lot of these other quarterbacks, especially that generation. His legs are less. He's less Josh Allen, and he's more Peyton Manning at times.
they did run QB power for a touchdown with him from the 4-yard line. So
Yeah.
he's still got the legs. He still has the ability to score them. But
I
I
take it
like
back.
what
Tony Romo.
there you go. Maybe like it's a little bit less of a scrambler, but could still be a good runner. Like he's a weirdly good runner, but you don't love him scrambling as much. That's when things
Baker
can be a little
Mayfield.
bit
I'm
off.
just kidding.
Maybe not that chaotic, but so we've gone over the teams. Now we got to talk a little bit about betting. We got some gambling. We got ourselves a futures bet from each team. So Kelcey, you're going to lead the way. Give us a bet for each team, what you're looking at, and how we feel it.
All right, so I'm gonna go in the same order of my division. So bottom to the top. I'm starting with the Raiders. Ashton Jeanty, 1,000-yard season. This is crazy that a rookie has negative odds. He is odds on to get 1,000 yards this season, minus 220. It is one of my only, actually, it is my only bet on this entire division that is a minus odds bet. That's how crazy it was to see this. I was like, I have to say this. This has to be the one. So Ashton Jeanty, 1,000 yards rushing, minus 220. And yeah, that's where that goes. And then moving up, I'm going with Justin Herbert, 4,000 plus passing yards, plus 210 to do that. And then Bo Nix, 30 plus passing touchdowns. While you have him regressing, I have him increasing, plus 210 odds for that as well. So still kind of even odds. And this was the one that just shocked me the most. Travis Kelce, 1,000 regular season receiving yards, 1,000 plus regular season receiving yards, plus 440 odds. He was actually one of the last players optional last player options for 1,000 plus receiving yards. That's a crazy thought. Travis Kelce, the walking 1,000-yard tight end, plus 440 odds.
I get the reasoning. Getting older, last couple of years hasn't really hit it, but at the same time, if the divisions play out like we expect, where they're more competitive, there will be no sitting in week 18, which means he'll have that extra game. And last year, if he plays week 18, he probably hits it. So, with those odds, it's tempting, especially if he can go into the season healthy and remain healthy. And if things just open up, like at least I think they will, I think that one's very doable with very plus 440 odds. Like that will do if that hits for sure. That's a nice payday.
Yeah, I figure why not throw it out there and see what happens with the Chiefs. Because with the Chiefs, it's so wild, but the one thing that Patty loves is Travis Kelce. So given health, given consistency, I think those two, that's not it's not a crazy number for them to hit it. He's hit it before many times in his season. It's just a matter of staying healthy all year and playing all 17 games.
Exactly. So I'll go with my bets now. I'll go from the bottom to the top as well. For the Broncos, I have Cortland Sutton over 1,000 yards. Just got paid. Has been a very good player through his time with the Broncos. I think we really got to see him show it off last year with Bo Nix, and I think that's still going to continue off of the payday. I think he's still clear and far ahead, going to be their best receiver, and I think it won't even really be close. I think he's going to be the focal point at plus 135 to get over 1,000. So I think positive odds to get him over 1,000. I feel real comfortable with that. Next up, we got the Raiders. I'm just taking the low hanging fruit of over 7.5 wins at plus 145. Even if they go 8-9, that still hits. Even if they're not as good as I think they will be, I still think they will find a way to doubling their win total with the upgrades they've had doesn't feel completely astronomical. Let's say I had them it's not I didn't let's say they struggle in division. Like I had them 3-3. Let's say they go 1-5, so you take off a couple wins. That's still the 8-win mark. When you have
Mhm.
Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, Ashton Jeanty, I feel like 8 wins is very doable at plus 145 for them. And they play the AFC South. That is a lot of very winnable games in there, as we will talk about when we get to the South. There's a lot of winnable games for everybody else in there. Chargers, the over under for Justin Herbert was set at 36.50 at minus 114 for passing yards. I'm like, okay, I think he can get you 36-51 next year. I think that offense opens up a lot, as I mentioned. And in the same vein, Patrick Mahomes over under set at 4,005 yards. And I think they will be
Mhm.
playing all 18. He's gone over that, I think, every year of his career except for last year. I think they'll be playing 18 games next year. So I don't think he'll be sitting in that, or 17 games. I don't think he'll be sitting in week 18. 4,006 passing yards is very much in the Patrick Mahomes wheelhouse. So we're going to take that at minus 114 as well.
Your bets make my bets feel better because if you're picking 3,600 plus for Justin Herbert, it's only another 400 yards to get to 4,000. And if Patty's getting over 4,000, Travis is probably on the receiving end of a good chunk of that.
So yours make mine feel good too, because if yours hit, then mine almost certainly have to, especially with Justin Herbert. I don't think it's possible for that one. So
Yeah.
let us know down below, everyone in the comments, what some of your bets are you like for the AFC West and what you think of our predictions for how the divisions will shake out. Which one of us is terribly wrong, which one of us is terribly right, and well, they're not that much terribly far different overall. There's just a few minor tweaks here, but if you think someone else could take it from the Chiefs, let us know down below. But